New Year. Happy 2026. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Darren Chan. Darren's been a hero in the community for a very long time. He's been with us since the first Oxbridge-AIx challenge, and he's very, very supportive and very encouraging. So this is a really cool opportunity. We're going to learn some things that a lot of people don't really talk about. And we're glad to finally be able to bring him. He's been asking to do this for quite a while. So over to you, Darren, and welcome to Oxbridge-AIx Masterclass.
Thanks so much for having me, Uday. Nice to meet you, everyone. Just want to share with you my journey as well as a student. I'm originally from Malaysia. Been in London for the last 2 decades. Came without anything, and working a lot as a student, just because my parents doesn't pay for my school fees as well, and and I had to force my way to be here. Um, 2 decades ago, everything was quite cheap then, and the chicken and chips is one of my most affordable meal as a student. Um, but one thing I like to really share about it is that when you are a student, just ask as many questions as possible. Um, get curious. There's no silly questions, and I know Gen Z, you got the ability to just be the truthful to yourself, right? And one thing I want to encourage is that really, really dream big, knowing what you want to do. Sometimes you may not know what you want yet. It's just understanding, kept building what you're building right now. What you're doing in Oxbridge has been incredible with Uday building the community of people. I think community of people, it's so important. London and UK generally can be a very lonely place. Be around each other to empower, to encourage and to support each other. If there's any opportunity to introduce to each other, it would be great. While at least we are a student, get some placement, get some real world experience, simply because that will allow you to know what's the problem out there that you can literally solve. If you can't, you will find out a tools or create a tools to solve the problem. And Uday, thank you so much for having me today. I want to be able to have this masterclass just to help everyone. Maybe you may know what to do already, but I know my passion is about helping people in this outcome of the course class is to be, knowing what sort of sets of tools you really need to start right so that you don't spend too much money on subscriptions, don't spend too much money on marketing, and basically focus on the right start so that you can get customers along the way, and then you start building momentum towards the tools and the subscription that you needed. So the agenda today is just very straightforward. We talk about how to start right. Talk about tools, what sort of tools that you really need to just to have the right start for protecting your data, giving your customers the assurance and the compliances that you are able to really help to do business in a compliance way. Other than that, it's also when you run your enterprise business, uh, your AI startup, you need to make sure you know how to share your data correctly. You also need to know how to protect your data correctly. So, for example, everyone can use their own computer, but if we are collaborating together, there's certain data you can share, certain you couldn't share. We just have to be really, really protect your stuff correctly. The budget as well, the budget of what you are actually going to spend for. Although, in building AI, you can get a lot of tons of free credits, but nothing actually free until you get stuck into it, and then they make you pay for it. Otherwise, you lost your data. So how do you actually maintain and still continue to keep your data, even though you don't pay for subscription? Those are the things that I would talk about today. Uh, Being compliance is very important when you do business with any industries. They will definitely ask you if you want to bid for government projects, you want to bid for an NHS project or any enterprise project. They would ask you how you are actually using your internally, how you build your technology stacks. Whatever service you provide, the outcome is you still need to have an infrastructure, whether it's hosted in the cloud, whether it's hosting it on-prem, whether you got 5 people working with you, or collaborating with you. That sort of compliances you need to really consider about. the cost-effective approach, how you actually be able to save costs and really do a lot of things. And while you're building, you shouldn't spend too much money building them. So in this whole overall, have the right understanding of that, and how to make consistent income instead of one-off income, one-off project. Especially, everything that subscribes is like rental. It can be very expensive in long term, and you could imagine that how can you actually build your own that can actually consistently generating you income so you don't have a stress to pay for subscription. You're just consistently generating income on that side. So yeah, we want to start with these three pillars. I want to talk about how to start right. Start right, or you call that right start, is very important because that's your basic foundation. Give you an example of when I was doing snowboarding. I just came back from snowboarding last week. So a couple of years ago, a friend of my housemate actually asked me to go to snowboarding trip with him, and I went there and basically have no idea how to snowboard, and I really determined to learn how to snowboard. Now, I was learning from him, and also some people around, like friends who comes with us. The differences is that I don't think I get my basic right. So it took me about 4 years to actually do it properly. But when I get to learn it from a real instructor who really specializes in training other people how to snowboard, the basic fundamental of the start, I realized that we don't go up the slope straight away. We go on the magic carpet and get the technique right. Once you get your technique right, you take 2 days actually to learn how to do it properly. And the third day, you can actually go on the mountain. You don't start on the mountain straight away and learn how to snowboard down. And that gives me the understanding of like, how do you have the right basic foundation right? So you have to start right. So what's your vision? So your vision, whether it's personally or as a business, for me, my vision is I want to be a person who can contribute towards making a different or positive differences, listening, encouraging, and building people around us, and focusing on connecting others. We sometimes can be an introvert and extrovert, but important thing is to really connect, really take time to help each other to dream bigger and build bigger. If you want a £2 million worth of your company, how can you build with that vision? And then you got to plan for the vision. A lot of times in life is that it's not about we plan to fail in life, is we fail to plan how to navigate things, and we put the priority wrong. And the important thing is that purpose will come, but the vision is your vision that you really, really want to know, your end goal, and then you plan for it, and your purpose will follow. Which means if you say, my purpose is to make money, to survive, to make better money, to contribute, you've got to have the vision and plan first. Same with your technology stack. It's so important. What's your vision of your business? You creating to solve some problems, and it's important for you to be able to create that vision correctly, and you know why you do what you do. So um, yeah, and I wanted to share an analogy about the connections, internet connections, right? Imagine we always think that in the we need internet for everything. Now, without internet, it can cause a lot of uh, unnecessary disruption. Now, if you think about life, right, it quite similar like internet. If goes up and down, it can be very frustrating. If you've got a real important things to send out, and last minute the internet went down, you miss the opportunity to send, or you miss an opportunity to buy something that you really, really want to buy. Now in life, it's like if it goes up and down, it can be very, very, very frustrating as well. So how do you have a very stable internet? And I can say that if you want to have a real stable internet, you need to have a really good surrounding of the cable. You need to have the right sort of cables around you, and then you need to have a right internet service provider. Now in life, if you think about that, you need the people around you to encourage you, empower you, and believe in you to dream bigger. And what Uday is doing this for the community. and to never give up on your dream. Okay, now enough of internet, but I want to really talk about this quickly. Uh, why this is important? Because the whole world is actually not linked together through internet. It's through subsea cables. There are more than 650 cable system in the world, and that's subsea only. But you talk about terrestrial, you got so many going through Pakistan, Kazakhstan, via Russia to go to China, then go to Asia. Those are the whole backbone of that. Why am I mentioning this? Because everything you do, internet is not everything. These are all private connectivity. And you think about this, I put a reference subseacables.com so that you know that how the whole world linked together is via a complete subsea cables and terrestrial cable to the internet exchanges to exchange data with each other. And enterprises, they do not use internet to share information through the internet. They use a private link. So that's why data center play a big part. That's what digital realty play a big part for majority of the enterprises. We help customers to be able to bring data from one locations in one country to many different countries around the world. Even like Facebook itself, their Meta has more than 500 terabyte capacity per cable. They created LLM, and LLM is a large language learning model for majority of us are using to train your AI. Uh, so the whole world linked together through this, and internet exchanges are the one who combine many different countries' data into one place where you call that internet. So then it's global. But your data has to be closer to where the users are. So they use subsea cables to bring the data to a different part of the world. Right. Now, talk about the important part. My deck is not long. Um, so in order for you to have a right start, these are the sort of like a tool that you could use, right? Yes, you got email hosting. That's very important. Why emails are hosting are important? Because there are few types of email hosting. You got POP3, you got IMAP, you got Exchange. Every of these tools enables you to start the company, right? You can host it yourself in your own on-prem or on the subscription online. But to actually start right, it's very important because it doesn't cost you more to either migrate your data, to protect your data. So for me, every businesses needs to have the right stable email system. You could use Microsoft Stack if you want to. It's called Office 365 Basic. Is something that you got to differentiate between the business version and the personal version. It's very different. Now, if you think about business version, you think about Microsoft Office Basic Edition that gives you essential tools of Microsoft Exchange, identity access management. It gives you the ability to use OneDrive or SharePoint, and then you got Microsoft Team itself. Now, these tools itself, it costs you maybe £4.90 a month. And that is something if you got a company and you got a couple of people collaborating together, that's where you can use these tools. And you can protect your data with this as well. So SharePoint, you can share certain data towards your developers, that certain things you can share, certain things you couldn't share, you don't share them, right? And Google Workspace is very similar as well. You got the single sign-on, you got the identity access management that you can use. You can use this to synchronize with many technology stacks that you are doing. And you got the ability to manage your emails effectively. Now, Google Workspace is not for you to just use it on gmail.com. If you use it on a computer, you should be able to download Google App Sync, which then synchronize your whole entire mailbox in Microsoft Outlook that you can then separate your mailboxes or basically inboxes to make it very tidy. Otherwise, it can be very, very messy. Okay, then you will spend a lot of time trying to juggle around to fix your emails here and there. Or the third one is that you host it yourself. You get a Synology, as you can see, the Synology drive here is a drive that you host it in your house and maybe in your office. You'll be able to use it to host your email and it's free. Then you think about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is so important. This is just some of it. It doesn't need to be this brand. Windows Defender, it's It's a free tool, but there's also a paid version. And I've seen a lot of people who run businesses, they don't even have a proper antivirus in there. They just assume it's going to protect it. I won't get hacked. Hacking is not about it's basically wherever you are, as long as you are on the internet, the vulnerability is there. If your network is exposed to a public, the attack is always there. You need something to protect you, to defend you. And your firewall and your router is the first point of defense, and then goes to your technology stacks where they defend your laptop on this. Now, if you would have got a proper tools or single sign-on, you don't need to sign on in many different places. You can just use either Microsoft or Google just to allow you to sign on to any of these service provider sites and make a single technology stacks. Other than that, like you think about a name, the name is very, very important for you to start a business. What this brand actually representing, right? Like Oxbridge is a big, meaningful name. Like for me, the company that I want to set it up, what is the name of the company? It representing you, it carries you. I set up a company. I set up a company to give young people opportunity to actually help other people to fix their IT issue. But because they have a very, very passionate people, they're young people from church. They work in barista in the coffee shop. They work in the retail. I give them opportunity to be able to learn some professional services skill so that they can earn more money. And I created a company that representing the brand of that. Then so your domain names, it's very important. Where you host them, there's so many spaces to get domain names, right? You definitely have no problem getting the domain names. The important thing is that where you are getting them, how much you're actually spending, your OPEX costs or yearly cost that you spend on hosting, all these things you got to think about it, right? And then it actually the last one is optional. Okay. The optional part is to you green or unify or synology or win. Win is a backup software for 3-to-1 backup. Basically, they do an air gap in case if you got affected with your computer or your network attached storage, you still have a backup that is off net, so you can still recover the data. Those are the very, very important thing. Businesses can go down without any proper sort of backup strategy. I understand everyone's a little bit more into a developer side. You understand coding, but these are the fundamental foundation for you to be able to bring your business into a more optimum way so that you can focus on building your technology stacks. These will protect you. These will help you to spend less money. And these are the sort of tools that I would recommend. Of course, you can select whichever that you felt comfortable is. I give you some example, right? With this, it may cost you £4.90 a month. This costs you £4.99 a month. This is free. But with antivirus, it might cost you £1 a month per licenses. Now, these are important because they get the latest antivirus technology stack to be able to protect from the latest ground up any viruses out there. The the third one is hosting domain. Like OVH Cloud can get you really good domains for £10 a month. Sorry, a year. And then you can get a website hosting for £2.99 a month or £2.50 a month, right? There's no point paying. Squarespace is good, but the thing is that it may cost you £20 a month. Now you think about overall cost, £20 a year versus £200 a year. That's the cost for you, right? The more cost you're going to pay, the more expenses you're going to spend, and the more charges you're going to charge your customers. So to have the right side is very, very important. The last one is like all these technology, they are all different stack. It's can be starting for £250. You can always buy a second-hand stuff that won't cost that much. All right. So the important thing is that you got to think about these technology stacks. And now we think about AI, right? So this is thinking about an ability to do AI on cloud to on-prem. We talked to talk to enterprise customers a lot about this. A lot of AI fail because a lot of things is they just do it on the cloud and they do not know what is the real use cases for that. Now, some have become very successful, but everyone throwing a lot of money on that. This is just a PDX architecture references that I wanted to share about private inference training instead of public training. So if you think about the needs, the customers wanted to have a hosted AI trading infrastructure. They want a secure private connections to the cloud because secure private connections to the cloud is where they started with their training. And when they scale, they want to be much more cost effective because as you do everything on the cloud, the data getting larger and larger. Even AWS Glaciers is the cheapest way to store data. It's not cheap when your data is getting a lot more. And it's very expensive that you bring down the data. And when you bring down the data, you're not bringing down the data through internet. It's a private connections. So within a data center world, the customers who then decided to put their own AI stack, their own technology into the data centers, and then we provide them a private interconnectivity into the cloud where they train their public AI, and they're integrating it back into their private infrastructure because this cannot do what they wanted to do here anymore. So then they move it into here, and then what the benefit for these customers is that now they can train as much as they needed here, and the cost is a lot more lesser because the data sets is going to be much more optimized and much more, even unstructured data will store here rather than storing here. And then they bring it back closer to the edge where their customers are. Their customers can be in different countries. Like if you are doing inferencing in the AI trading in the UK, now, if your data, your users are not just in the Europe, but also in the Asia or US, it's going to experience delay issue. Now you then bring it back to where the users are to those APAC locations or US location, then they can access the data a lot more quicker. But if you think about China, it's basically completely different. They got a great firewall there. You basically need to bring the data into China via another providers. In China, you can only use whether China Telecom, Unicorn, or mobile. Otherwise, everything is going to be blocked. Even if you create a VPN through the internet, it's not going to work effectively. So you need to make sure the data are actually connected to your private infrastructure on the private way to maintain the custody of the sensitive of company data. But if you do any enterprise businesses and provide them services, you got to think about this for the future. Even when you're building right now at scale, you got to think about the importance of bringing to do it on-prem to the cloud, or if you think about this part as your own laptop, it's as important. This is your laptop. As you're getting bigger and bigger, then you start to think about the real technology on here, right? So now this is an example of the budget subscription hardware, software, capex and opex model. I know majority of you are doing AI, so I thought to share this to make you a little bit aware of what is actually within the AI in the infrastructure and the hardware side, because everyone's just doing on the cloud, getting free cloud credits and start doing all the inferencing, the training. It's all there, or using app to create another app. The problem is that when you do that, you don't really understand how to develop the project, the applications. And in long term, if there's a problem with the application, you will not be able to fix them because you didn't build the foundation. And we don't need a developer to help you to build stuff. But if you think about long term, you've got to have the more understanding of what it is in order for you to build those tools. So this is a self-hosting rack in order for you to do inferencing. You think about at the top, you can put your management switch. It basically allow you to remote into your rack, and then through do that, get into your private server, because the management switch protect you from the firewall so that you will be much more secure to enter into your compute stack. You can stack on multiple CPU, GPUs together into there. And this is just an example. You can even start with this at home, right? If you want to do inferencing, do AI training, model training with the open source model, you can use the NVIDIA DGX Spark right now. This is like 3.5K, or this HPE's Fury Zen 8. You can put up to 4 different Tesla GPUs in there that has more than 250 gigs of RAMs that you can put it in. And these are not that expensive. It costs you less than £10,000, right? But you training your own inferencing in there. But you get to play around with your own rather than via the cloud. I'm not saying I'm not against the cloud. You can, cloud can give you so many important tools, but there's a limitation because it costs you money to buy a very expensive GPU. It costs you nothing in here. It costs you only a budget for buying the equipment once. Yeah, Uday, go ahead.
I just wanted to, sorry, I'm going to put my camera back on. I just wanted to like also share in support of what you're saying that you help a lot of people with this. So even like Early Bird, the VC firm,
Mhm.
you basically not just help them, but you've helped a lot of their startups understand these things to reduce costs, which buys them more run rate.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, Uday. It's so important, right? Usually you would think that the free tools are free, is actually not free. Like for example, Cloudflare, they will provide free DNS server for you, but everything that you go to that server is basically data. They will take your data so that they can um, analyze and then basically using the data to something, right? Go ahead, Uday.
Sorry, Darren. I just like because I'm going to be contradicting you sometimes. So I just
Sure.
wanted if you get time to like share when it comes to the stage, right? So speed is king, but there's a time when so for example, in the context of blitzscaling, right? What a lot of companies do is they prioritize speed. So I want to discourage people from not making decisions because they want to be too perfect about things in the beginning,
Mm.
but then to use the opportunity when you can to optimize. Sorry, that's just my 2 cents. Apologies to interrupt you on that.
No, no, it's absolutely fine. It's great. Yeah, important. Speeds are very important. Speed to scales are very important. Now, speeds while you are doing something, and unless there's a need for the something to solve that can solve the customer's problem. Now, you can speed to deliver something, but can they sustain you? Now, in this, you set up, you save it up, you'll be able to then do as much as you want. It doesn't cost you money. You spend as much time as you want. It doesn't cost you money. And in the sense that you're creating the tools that really, really good, now you can put it on the cloud because you train everything here locally. And you can store your storage in a storage like Synology. The IOPS is very important. It can go up 10 gig per second. The GDR7 router, it's a very different router than just a free router from your providers. You got the interface. Firewall obviously is very important for you to protect your customers' data because if you're working, for example, with a hospital, they wanted you to be able to protect their data if they would share you the data, right? This is how you prove to them how you can store the data. Now, all this, you can stack it all into a rack if you want to. But this is, for me, I got all this in my home. I don't have the GPU side because I'm not a developer, but I got a good computer to do what I needed to do. But everything that you do here is only a CapEx cost. There's not really an OpEx cost other than power that you are uh, providing to power this on. Okay. Now within this HPE, you got the AI Studio, which is a tool from AI HPE themselves. But you got so much more to be able to use the public model of the training, and then you train your own and optimize your own AI in there. You think about AI factory is a lot of this, but full scale of it. Okay. Now think about enterprise AI, right? Those are the things that you are using in the AWS, you are using on Microsoft. There are all these big servers that you are actually don't see them, but this is what is linked to their platform to automatically allow you to spin up any GPUs that you require. You think about you need to Not so sure. Alexa is listening to me and playing music. Alexa, switch off. Okay. Right. So you think about this. This is you got system, you got accelerator, you got storage, and you got networks. These are very, very important stuff. A lot of things that we never really thought about that. What GPU sets a chipset that you're going to use for your AI training. Supernova actually is one of the cheapest training system out there. You can Google it and find it out. You think about NVIDIA Spectrum 4 networking, those are the switches. Why those are enterprise is so important? Because when you're training your AI, right, the synchronizations is very, very important. So the networking speed today is about 400 gig per second, going towards 800 gig. And sometimes you got a new interface card is 1.6 to 3.2 gigabit per second. I mean, terabit per second. That's really, really important. It requires congestion free. It requires lossless networking. Those are the technology stacks you think about building an AI, and the storage wise, those are the companies itself that provide storage as a service. And lastly, this is something we are building as Digital Realty in London. So by Q1 this year, Uday, maybe we can arrange that for whoever that is interested to see the real thing that you can touch and feel. Usually in data center side, you can't really go and see what customers are using, what is in the deck in the racks in their racks itself. But with this, you can see the real thing where we got NVIDIA that put their servers there. We got Lenovo who put the light cooling. How do you save a lot more power in terms of while you're training your model? A lot of times, like GPUs are always spinning up. ChatGPT is not free, and it's called token, right? Basically, when you are using a GPU searching for informations, the GPU is running again. And using direct liquid cooling could save the cost. If you think about AI factory, they build massive AI factory only for the particular customer. You cannot really build an AI factory for multiple customers. And building data center in the cloud, and when people talk about being in the space, in reality, it probably works for one customers if they do not need to have that data synchronized all the time. But in reality, it may not work for multiple customers at the same time, simply because the latency between the Earth to the cloud to the orbit is going to be too much. Everything got to be very high speed in order for you to do inferencing. And so this is why data center play a big part. When they do the inferencing in whether it's in Europe, they have to bring the data to US, then back into Asia. So we hosted company like CoreWeaves that provide GPU as a service, Vulture, and many different ones that is doing this. And I think this is my last stack. And yeah, so I'm open the floor. If you guys got any questions, feel free to ask. And this session is very more like want to share with you how I think the importance of IT stacks towards what you're going to do for AI. When you study AI, you need to know about not just doing it from your computer side, but you think about if you want to scale it, how can you scale it towards your own network from your own on-prem, and then suddenly you got customers everywhere, you're going on the cloud, but you got to then think about the right technology stacks to do that. Yeah, the floor is yours, Uday. Thanks for having me.
That was great. I just wanted to recommend that when people ask questions, please introduce yourself. The reason we ask people to do this is that the community is built on trust, and people can't trust people who they don't know. So just want to encourage everyone to do that. I might get us started if that's okay. So, fundamentally, what happens when, people have been using services already through some of these providers, right? How do you recommend people to transition? And what options do you think? So even with, let's say, cybersecurity or with some of the other infrastructure you've been talking about.
So my understanding of your question is that if you've been using any services on the cloud, how do you transition into a private way of doing it, right? So imagine what you are doing on the cloud. Yes, it's very, very useful for you to be hosted in the cloud, very easy for you to use AI tools to create another AI tools. But ultimately, it's a subscription model. You never own them. You do not know how to build them. So while you're using that, you think certain features are very, very important, very good. You can actually start building it on your own on-prem, on either on your real GPU laptop or DGX box, and then you think about comparing that model into your real model in here on-prem and on cloud. Then you think about the cost wise, right? If you got customers, fine, they can pay for the cost. But if you got competitor who actually building their own on-prem and then hosted it on-prem themselves versus your tools that is hosted everything on the cloud, then your cost might be losing out to the competitor because you have to think about your infrastructure cost, right? That you host it on the cloud. So they charge you a lot more, way more for the subs. You have to charge them for subscription to cover your costs. You can't make much money versus on-prem. Now you can start making money. You go to market for better tools and you know how to fix it when it breaks because you do not know how well you build that until it breaks, right? Now everything that is generated by online hosting, you you may not you may think, oh, it's so simple to build that. Yes, it's very simple, but when it breaks, it's not that simple to fix it. You have to find resources to fix it. But in here, you can spend very little money and really spend the time to fix it on-prem. How to transitions? I would say do it hybridly. Never do everything on the cloud. Think about some saving some costs. You win the competitions, use this cost, you get funding, use this cost to buy DGX box. That would be the best gift if you're an AI person. Yeah. So Sarah asked a question about how can we learn more about AI tech stacks. Well, there's so many different AI tools to use. The best way to do about the tech stack is that again you think about DPX Sparks. That is something that I would say, or go for HPE Fury, or you can buy from those A100 secondhand on eBay. You know, those servers are very expensive when it's new. On eBay, they might charge £20,000. You take the whole stack and just play it yourself as a team, you know, a group of entrepreneur, a group of getting some funding like 10, 20,000. Go and play around with that. Uh, that is very, very important to 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 think about that. Then it's actually free for you to do so. Yeah. Any more questions, anyone?
Can you give us some examples with your experience? Because you work with quite a few different people.
Hmm.
And also like while you share these examples, if you could also elaborate a little bit on their stage.
Hmm. So you think about I passionate about IT, right? You know, if any one of you really need any help to set up the technology from scratch, like to get Microsoft Stack or Google's stuff, I can help you to set up without any cost. Just come to me. I'll show you how to set it up. I teach you how to do so. You get the infrastructure right. Um, I help many businesses to solve their compliances issue. People who think about um, my data in my company, and you hire a few people, and the few people left, and they take the data of your company away with them. These are very, very fundamental of how do you protect it. Is that if you set it up with Microsoft Stack correctly, and then you put in the remote management, you can wipe the laptop straight away if they left the company. And now you can't do that if you not offering any laptop for your staff. You basically you can't just I can't say, hey Uday, I want to wipe your laptop because you're no longer working or collaborating with me. It's your laptop, right? So there's no control of you, and also you know don't have the confidence to give it to your customers when they ask you how you do your compliances. And those are the very important start. I help a lot. Like Early Bird is a capital venture, solicitor firms that I'm be helping out. I'm actually helping out a CEO of investment bank for their private IT stack. in their own home. Those are all very, very important things. If you start up an IT company or an AI company that has a couple of people that working together for a project, now you got to think about how do you collaborate together and really consistently collaborate. Like not like, oh, let's have a good idea, let's do something together, and I use my own laptop, you use your own laptop. Look, but if it's your own company, you've got to start protecting your data because you got the data sets already, and you say this is what you can do, right? Um, yeah, so those are the example. I help many this company to be able to synchronize data between offices. I help hotels to set up Wi-Fi systems, CCTV alarm systems. Why those are important for businesses? I think having the right Wi-Fi system, even in the public working space, are so important because people can steal your information if you do not set it up correctly. And those are the things that you got to protect. Okay. So yeah, those are example. Songsi, you asked the question, biggest cost of machine, electricity, or what? So the most biggest cost about budgeting for you to do is your own equipment. The first thing is equipment can be expensive, but equipment can be very cheap if you buy secondhand, right? For example, if I would be running a business, I would give my employee Carbon X1. Carbon X1 is provided by Lenovo, whether they are generation 1 to generation 13. They are very cheap to buy secondhand, and it's very expensive to buy firsthand. But because it's a corporation laptop, basically they looks the same. Different generation, they looks the same. So you got a really good pattern. And then from there, you then link it to the identity access management on the cloud with Microsoft Stack. That doesn't cost you too much because it comes to your email anyway. Um, if my employee leave the company, I lock it already from there. So the moment you decided not to work together, then that way your data is already protected, right? So your data has to be synchronized, but those are laptops are not for GPU training. Those are more for using for normal usage itself. Yeah. So how much is the second-hand H100 Note? I think it's about 20 something thousand on eBay. I'm not so sure what's the latest price, but it's a lot cheaper. A lot of things that the cheapest things that I would think to do is to have the DGX Spark. That is one of the DGX Sparks with the a storage that can capable of running a 10 gig interface card, because at least you can do your private inferencing. Your data doesn't need to be on your computer. Your data will store in your storage, and you can put many junks there, and then you start training with that AI modeling that with the DGX Sparks with the Blackwell processors. Yeah. Oh, it makes sense, guys.
I mean,
This.
I can tell you this, Haneen is getting quite excited about it. She's asking me all these questions about our company. How do we do everything? Can I ask you like a simple question? So, earlier you mentioned Squarespace and how. So I'm just trying to like. Okay, wait. There's another question from Yongxi. Let's prioritize that. How much can you get for one second-hand H100 node?
Yeah, I did mention I answered the question already. I
Oh, you did.
think
Sorry.
yeah, probably check on eBay. Or
Yeah.
sometimes the
I
secondhand
was a bit
computer company.
distracted by Hani.
No, no
Yeah.
worries.
Yeah. No, so I have an example of a simple use case. We use Squarespace to buy domains. The
Hmm.
reason why we used to use Squarespace, well, we started using Squarespace is because it was connected with Google, and
Yeah,
earlier Google domains
single
and
sign
everything
on.
used to
Yeah.
work really well.
Hmm.
We've now having really annoying issues that every time we add someone to the team, it's almost impossible
Cost
to,
you money.
and it costs money, and it costs money. So what do you recommend we should do?
Um, so Squarespace is a website, right? So web building tools, same with hosting. There are so many different way of doing it. Now, if you do your own, basically you just need to have a simple domain hosting and a web hosting. Domain hosting is just your domain name, right? You pay for your AI domain probably costs you less than £30 a year. Now, the web hosting is depending on the storage that you require. You can host it on-prem as well if you want to, but most of the time that people still host it on the cloud so that it's been protected. But I would say check on different website. Like Hostinger is one of our biggest customers. But they also got AI tools to create a website for you. You can use OVH. OVH is very cheap. And also you got the WordPress tools that you can use to create a simple website. But again, Squarespace are very nice design. It's just the cost. So if as long as you can keep your cost low, like
Yeah.
if you use any of these hosting company, even if you got Synology as a storage, right? You can use Synology to host your own internal website. It's free, right?
I
You
mean,
can install what.
we
Mhm.
don't use their websites. We just use it to buy domains, and then from the
Uh-huh.
domain, because I mean, we code our own website, so we use a lot of vibe coding to
Mm.
do that. But one thing that has been problematic is I mean, it was very good for, I guess, Google to sell Google domains to Squarespace, but that integration between the two companies has been very problematic because we can't make any changes on Google workstations
Uh,
without going through Squarespace. So I'm wondering if there's any way around it. Sorry, guys, if this is really boring, but I'm hoping
oh,
other people have the same problem.
of course. So domain name is just the name of your domain, right?
Yeah,
And so every domain name must have a DNS. It's called domain name services.
yeah.
Now, the domain name services is where you control the domain, where you point the specific thing to either Google or Squarespace. It's just a DNS. I think yours is mostly a DNS issue. If you share with me on that privately, I help you to solve that easily.
Thanks. No, I appreciate that, Darren. What
Yeah,
do you think? Wait, we have another question from Saras. Cyrus, why didn't you ask the question yourself? Because I want people to know who you are. Please.
yeah. So
Cyrus.
Sarah's asked the question. All right, he did
Hi,
ask. She
sorry,
asked.
my
There you go.
mic wasn't unmuting. Hi, I'm
Yeah,
Saras. I'm an innovation tech consultant, ex-banking, and now I'm an early stage startup founder in AI.
love it.
So I'd love to thank you so much, Darren, for the very insightful chat and for answering my previous question as well. Wanted to just get an insight into where I can learn a bit more about AI architecture. I am looking for a CTO as well. So I have a brief intro into tech and AI and coding, but I'd love to learn more. So if you can maybe suggest something where I can read and learn a bit more, that would be fantastic. It could be YouTube channels, books, anything else as well. Thank you.
No, no worries. So, Sarah, my understanding is that you wanted to understand about the infrastructure side, about the technology, what you need in order to build an AI architecture.
That's right. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, if you look into back into the deck that I shared just now, so if you look into this deck, okay, now is you can start with this deck as well. Usually on the right side, these are the very fundamental. If you set up a small office, a router. This router is a UDR7. It got a 10 gig FPF. Why 10 gig is very important because really a minimum that you want to be able to share your network speed is 10 gig, right? You think about the real private inferencing is 400 gig per second. They're using NVIDIA Infinity Band. Now, GPU itself, this is very, very good for training, but it doesn't have a lot of capability to store large data. So you need to think about a storage. It doesn't need to be in this brand. It can be any other brands. As long as it can take the capability of the interface card of 10 gig or 100 gig and so on. And this is basically is the same. And firewall is to protect your network. And a lot of times we use the free router at home thinking that why is my provider is not working very well? It's actually nothing to do with your provider. It's all depending your networking gear. Very, very important. And this is a little bit more like a bigger scale. You think about the storage networks, the type of GPUs required for your AI company that you wanted to train. Um, those are very important, and these are the real stuff, right? As you scale, you start to use this. If you look into this picture here, this has all of that. This basically is an NVIDIA GPU H200 plus the pure storage, which is storage itself. And then you got CPUs and other CPUs stacking up together for your whole compute stacks, and storage as well is in here. And they got cybersecurity and the networking is all within this whole technology stacks. So those are the very simple thing. All you have to do, four things: your infrastructure, which is your whole GPU or compute, your GPU chipset, your storage unit, and your network unit. Those are the very important things for you to build your own inferencing. Of course, you can start with all this. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
And
Well,
Cyrus,
thank
we're going to
you.
be sharing this recording in the next week, okay? On our community platform.
Oh, that's fine. I took the notes. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Cool.
and there's a lot of good courses called in Udemy. You can certainly do that. And also, you guys are not shy. Go and ask any questions on the CEO of any companies. Ask them how you do what you do. I'm always curious, and I'll reach out to people that running a big tech company or so. And Uday is very, very good in talking to people as well, right? So just ask them the questions, how they actually do what they do. Because for me, I have been in IT industry for many, many years. And before I get into the telecommunication industry and now in the data center industry, I got the ability to understand how to put stuff together. Right? Because sometimes we are so focused on only what we do, particularly like if I'm an IT person, I only know how to do IT stuff. I would not know how to do telecom stuff. I cannot explain telecom stuff. And then I cannot explain data center stuff. But now I can actually help you to put stuff together so that you can then focus on building the right stuff. Okay, and Chongxi, you asked how do you compare hosting it private on-prem depending on data center as a bare metal. Now, if you think about the cost-wise, right? I think I shared during the time of an AI workshop with Henayin and the whole and AI community in our office. So we give you an example. The way there's one company called E Plus. They specialize in helping customers with their AI journey, enterprises customers. So the way they start to go to market strategy is to using cost analyzing techniques. They will say, okay, you are using AWS with this GPU for your AI modeling, right? This GPU, the very same GPU, the very same storage, if you host it on-prem and host it in bare metal or data center, the 3 years cost of hosting on the cloud was $14 million to run that same GPU versus on-prem, it is actually 6 million. Oh, that's a lot of cost itself. And that is just an example. And then because of that, the customers will start think, oh, wow, that's actually a big saving. Because they do it hybridly, right? You don't do everything on the cloud. If you do everything on the cloud, you don't have resiliency. When AWS went down, a lot of people got affected as well because it costs you a lot of money to recreate a resiliency, right? And it's also a single point of failure. I would always suggest hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud in a way that there's certain things on-prem and you can mess with it as much as you want. It doesn't cost you too much to really train the real model that you then really define it properly, and then you bring it to the cloud where the users are so that you provide a user better experience. And for example, if you're hosting your data in the UK and you got customers in Asia or Australia, the data even in AWS cloud in the UK is not going to be fast to access from Australia. It's too far away. So they create sort of like a decentralized architecture and put it one in Asia so that it's for Australia users that can actually access it from Australia itself. Yeah, and Jack, feel free to ask.
There we go, unmuted. Thanks, Darren, for the talk. For everyone else, I'm Jack. I'm a co-founder of an early stage quantum computing startup. I've really liked this discussion about self-hosting things. Could you speak a little bit to the software side of that? So you have your own infrastructure that sits in your office, your home, your closet. How would you go about designing a way that's both convenient and secure to actually tap into that infrastructure from other locations? So you say you don't have a physical office, people are working from home. To give you a kind of concrete example, we have 2 workstation PCs that we use for simulations, and they're in separate locations. What would be a good way for multiple users to use both of these PCs that are physically separate from each other?
Yeah. Okay. So to my understanding, you got two different locations of these two PCs. You want to share data together in order for you to train AI inferencing privately. Now, you think about, I mean, I could have shared a proper design, but because it's a real scenario, I can't really share the customer side. But I give you an example of one of my very own customers. They got two offices. They got data between two offices. How are they sharing? Right. Firstly, your networking stage. Your router should be the one who is able to synchronize with another office. Then you create an IPsec tunnel through internet. Now, enterprises doesn't do IPsec. They do, but they don't do it through internet. They do it privately in a private link, point to point. It's like as if I connect one cable from this office to another office. So the whole throughput is really fast, depending on your interface, right? Now, if I would be designing this infrastructure for you, I would have this data to store in the network attached storage instead of the workstation itself, just in case the workstation failed. I will have two routers to synchronize two offices together to Synology or any network attached storage. And then the network attached storage, whatever data is in here, it still stays here. Whatever data is here, it stays here. So it's still going to be backup. At least you got your backup ready. And of course, you can create another backup on the cloud if you want to. And then your workstation is below here. And the workstation will consistently using the data locally stored on the local network attached storage, simply because it will be faster. If you want to train the data over the internet, it's going to be too long. And so that's how you collaborate together. And then if you want to allow people to have access into those workstations, you then create a VPN access for someone to get into the private network to then access that. Your developers can train it here, right? That's one of the best way to do so. Hopefully it makes sense, Jack.
I think
That is good.
Sorry, Jack.
Go ahead. I will. I was just saying thank you.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think Yongshi has another question. Yongshi?
Yeah. Hi, Darren. Thank you so much for the talk. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm currently in UAE, so it's. I mean, I used to be in London. Currently we are, hosting everything on cloud. Mainly doing inferencing. So for training, we don't have enough GPUs. So, we got options at the moment, but I think the option is too expensive, just way too expensive. And
to buy
I'm thinking,
a server?
Yeah, to buy. I mean, look, I mean, even the like a small model today, like a 27B model today, you have to get at least like a 4 H100s to properly run it, to inference it. And we have a lot of clients, and at the moment we can only serve like 5 simultaneously. And this is like, I mean, to be honest, I think there's a big problem. I mean, the data is one thing. In fact, I don't see the issue with the data at the moment. But what I see is the cost, because we don't have enough credit to use the cloud. And I mean, if we could get H100, then I mean, secondhand, at a low price, yes, that would be great. And then I would consider, deploying it to some kind of a private data centers, not on AWS, because I think on AWS or Azure or any other, cloud providers, they probably don't allow you to do it. I'm not sure if that was the case, because I used to do some quant trading before. So we used to, plan to deploy that, but we couldn't get the option. But in the past, when we do it on in the financial sort of exchange co-location, we call it co-location, and it was available. It was much more available than today, in terms of AI, because I think it's just too much monopoly on the on the GPU and the cloud resources these days. So how, I mean, just now I asked a question about, whether to deploy it, to buy a bare metal, like a second-hand one, and then deploy it to a private cloud, or you just, use like a lower grade or smaller GPU just to, get things running at, higher latency. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trade-off at the moment. So how would you, recommend to go forward? Yeah.
How to do this? It's very similar with what Jack is doing on the workstation. They use the workstation for inferencing and private AI training. And it's very, very important for you to utilize this privately. And then everything that you want to inference at the edge, you host it on the cloud, it still saves you money. The what costs you the most is you using all your data sets and run it over to the cloud. And then you start inferencing everything on there and the AI training model there, optimize there, and then inference to your users. You just end up not making money. If you charge too expensive, people can't afford to buy as well, right? So you do it in a hybrid way. Anything that you require AI model training, do it privately. Even if it's slow, do it privately. You could use a different company like CoreWeaves, who provide GPU as a service. You can use a company like ZenLayer, who provide use whether it's bare metal GPU as a service as well. Sometimes you can even get a manufacturer funding model, which they, you pay every month for that whole H100 or H200 instead of buying the whole lump sum at the same time. It doesn't cost you too much. If you only need a Blackwell processor, you might as well buy a DGX Spark to train your model, right? Cost you
Yeah.
3,500. Yeah, and everything that you wanted to host it on the cloud for users, fine, pay on the cloud, but don't use your cloud to train the model.
No. We are, yeah.
Mhm.
We are not training model on the cloud. No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, because that's just, way too expensive. I mean, Azure offers some prices, but it's like 8 times than the inference cost. Anyway,
Wow.
so yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm asking about inference because
Okay.
we are sort of using some standard models and open source models at the moment, and then but the problem is still about. We care about latency. We are in sort of the real time sort of application, so
Yeah.
and
So
it's also data intensive. So
yeah.
so
So understood.
I
I think we can
yeah.
take it more offline on that. So gonna
Okay.
give you an answer first, and then we give the sessions to more ask questions here. So give you an answer really quickly. In order for you to be able to have reduced latency, and the cost is to be able to put every technology stack together in one rack, and then you basically host the rack into your customers are. So if your customers are within UK, you got to host your inferences in the UK. You can't host it in UAE and expect them to access it from there. But UAE is not cheap for connectivity as well. You've got to think about this: the private connections to bring your data from one location to another. Right? We can take it offline and talk a little bit more about
Okay.
that. Happy to help you. Yeah.
Great. Thank you
Uday,
so much.
sorry, your hands up for a long time.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say this is more for Yongsheet. Like, if you are having issues getting access to GPUs, please let me know. Let's have a chat. I think you and I are speaking soon. We're pretty good at, especially if you're servicing customers with it. I'm pretty sure I can get Microsoft to help out. We also are partner with Crusoe. Crusoe is also GPU as a service, is one of the things that they do, amongst a few other things. We're happy to help, but I'm sure Darren is going to be able to help you better than any of that.
Thanks. Any more question, anyone?
I was actually going to ask you for your thoughts on the Spark.
Yeah, so DGX Spark is one of the cheapest Blackwell processors out there, 3.5K. It's not expensive at all. And that will save you a lot of time. And I think the cost of that will go up even more because Blackwell processors is rare to sell, and they make it so mini so that you can actually, if I'm a tech founder like every one of you, I would buy this and carry with me everywhere I go. You know, spin it up whenever I need it. Uh, and then the storage wise, I will put in the third storage. Um, so sometimes, like for example, right, the GPU stack, you don't have to have a very good laptop to do that. You can have a USB-C that connects to external GPUs for the training. You could use the DGX box to do that as well. You use your storage differently, and then you train your model. You basically you use your own software stack to do that. The thing is that, like, yeah, you can always utilize the cloud software stack, but again, if you utilize the cloud software stack, you would never know how to build the foundation of it. When it breaks, you can't really fix it, and you might spend so many hours and time to try to solve and try to find the bug. But if you build it one by one, stage by stages, and you're not so sure what code it is, then you can use the AI to help you to code them, right? Right. So you get the AI to see what's your coding errors and so on. But you're building this your own, and it's your own baby. No one can take away from you. When this is, you are stuck in there. Basically, you know, if you think about, I shared an example in the past. If you Google how much X actually saving for moving away from cloud. Let me see if there's an answer. Yeah. So in 2003, they reduced the cost of more than let's say Twitter at the time, actually saving away from cloud. So they save more than 100 million annually, moving away from fully cloud into a hybrid cloud. 100 million is a lot of money. How many GPUs can you buy? Imagine it's your own backyard, right? So it's about 300 to 500,000 pounds each of the NVIDIA GPU stack H200. But if you're saving a lot of money, and this is a real case, right? Like sometimes you look into the AI modeling, the subscription model is so expensive simply because everything is hosted on the cloud. And if they do not create redundancy, it's a single point of failure. If you want to create redundancy, it costs you double. Even for you not to use them, it costs you double. So I would say certain things you need to host it on-prem, then synchronize to the cloud. But I'll happy to show you how to build that, you know, whether through internet or private way of doing
I mean, it could be
right.
quite fun to do a masterclass on that. But I want to ask you, Darren, some questions. So I'm going to ask you a question of people we're not partnering with. For example, what do you think of the Inception program at NVIDIA?
Inception program, I haven't really used it before. But I told you they do help customers to people to get in. Actually, the way NVIDIA built their GPUs, right, to become AI trainable, is that they used to give out so many GPUs for free. They just give it to all the university to try out, and eventually all the feedback they're taking up from there, and then they build the GPUs to do AI training. If you look into the history for that, any programs that any providers offer you, go for it. But you know, remember everything that is like a house, right? You've got to aim to own a home. I would say why is very important. A lot of times people might think, oh, this is not suitable for me. Maybe my business pay for the rent is better for me, tax efficiently, and so on. Yeah, but we've got to think about, what if I'm sick? If I'm not working anymore, have I got a place to live? Right? And it's the same thing. Like, say for example, what if I don't have enough customers to pay for my subscription? Can I still doing what I love to do? Right? That this is the thing, because sometimes we are so stressed on, I need more customers to then pay for my subscription. You actually paying for, or you need more customers to pay for my rent. Actually, you know, if you can create something to give you consistent income. So, for example, if you got this strategy, right? You got option. Your community of people can access to the GPUs that you hosted your own. They can access it via Microsoft, Lovable, Cloud Day, or whichever may be. You give them the options the way they wanted to go for training. And if you can provide your own rental one, why not? It pay for itself, right? But you can also use it. You can also encourage community to try it. But it's your baby in the sense of like you never need to think about how much cost that you need to maintain that versus the other one, because people give you something for free when they do expect something back, right? And then it makes you stuck in there. I heard one time when I was in the AI Summit event, by the way, guys, AI Summit event is one of the best event that you can go. It's probably free. Google for it. Sometimes they charge, but for students, it's probably free. When I was in the event, I speak to many AI people that they do AI, and they even go to Google themselves, right? Google is participating, IBM is participating, and so on. They say that you give us free credit for 6 months, right? And I know that once I finish this credit, it costs me 20,000 a month. I don't have the money to pay, but now I'm a bit stuck on that. And then they obviously can give you a free credit to extend certain time and so on, but eventually they still need to make money to pay for their own hosting. So, do it privately. It's very going to be helpful for you a little bit, and then you start doing a little bit on the cloud.
So we have
Stefan,
a
you
question
mentioned,
from
yep.
Stephen. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
he's saying, thank you for the talk. He's a language cognition researcher moving into entrepreneurship. He's in a noisy spot. So he's asking that you mentioned that a combination of on-premises and in-cloud approaches was a good option. And you mentioned that servers in China are essentially for targeting the Chinese market. What other factors would a startup have to consider if it were targeting both Western EU and Chinese markets in terms of enabling distributed teams to collaborate effectively and in terms of compliance both in China and the West EU?
Yeah. So well, I used to work for China Telecom, so I understand in terms of the Great Firewall, it's all blocking the traffic. And as a normal user, you always think about internet. Let me get a dodgy VPN or get a paid VPN, and hopefully I can get out to the global website and global way of sharing data. Now this is about geofencing to be able to compliance. You can use NVIDIA chipset now in China, or you got your own DGX park, right? Imagine you got DGX parks in the UK, Europe, and then you got one in China. Again, this go back to Jack's question, like two workstation. Now, this will not work if you are China and Europe, but it will work if you got a private MPLS line. So it's called multi-private layer services, MPLS. It's a private backbone. So the way it works is that in China, say on my right is China. You are accessing the data through the internet. Then this internet will go to a SD-WAN gateway that provided by China Telecom, Zen Layer, China Mobile, or China Unicom. Then they will bring the MPLS network, is a private network gateway, into breakout in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong and China is very, very close. But Hong Kong is still outside the Great Firewall. But the private network will then break out in Hong Kong. Hong Kong then will link it directly to Europe. Then your European customers can access the data here. Your China customers can access it to break out in the data still in China, but the breakout is in Hong Kong, so then they can synchronize that way. Even if you think about Office 365, this is how you synchronize the two offices together. That evenly distribute the data, but it has to be through a private link. So the internet via SD-WAN gateway to a private backbone of Zen layer or all these three Cs back to Hong Kong, then privately back to China. Same with UAE as well. UAE, you cannot use WhatsApp. So you use VPN, but it's never stable. That's why I talk about subsea cable. Those are the private network that organization has built. So you can share data, collaborate legally and collaboratively throughout China and Europe. You geofencing your data towards the location. Great.
I have a
Glad it
random
helps.
question. Why? I mean, are you familiar with all the regulations and things in the UAE?
Certain things, I can talk about connectivity side, but regulations, not much. No, you can certainly ask.
Because I know that they wanted all their data to be kept inside the country, and so they try and limit local companies to have certain access, and that creates a big problem for cloud and other kind of infrastructure providers. I'm very curious if you have any solutions for that.
Yeah, good question. I definitely have a solution for that, right? In the past, I worked on a customer speed, BMW, who is a car manufacturing company. They have decided to do everything on the cloud. So they are in Dubai, they will access the Dubai cloud, in China, China cloud, in Asia, Asia cloud, and Europe and US, as you can imagine. And they realize the cost has been widely expensive. And they need to do this is because you think about geofencing the data in UAE, has to stay in the UAE. So what they have done when I'm working on their solution is to decentralize the network architecture instead of all cloud into a private on-prem. So they will have a server that are in their manufacture factory in UAE, but the data stores there in the data center. And then the data center's data is then synchronized privately through to EU, through to their headquarters privately. But they geofencing the data still stay here. But these guys here in EU, they still have the data. They just have to make sure they're compliance to make sure the data are stored locally. Now, if you do everything on the cloud, and not talking about BMW, talk about your own a way of expanding to different countries, inferencing. It's very expensive for you to host it in one place already, and then you get the credit and host it another place. We call that AWS Direct Connect. You can do the cost calculation on the cloud as well, depending on your GPUs. But I would not recommend you will get a free credit, host your inferencing there, but don't train your model there because you will finish your credit in no time. And then you have to go and ask for more credits. I would say save the cost, buy a HPE Fury with the GPU processors, or get a DGX Spark, play around with that using technology software like AI Studio, HP AI Studio. It's it's free to download, but I think there's a cost to pay. But you might be able to get it for free because you are a community of people, and this to help the students to understand how to build their own AI, right? It's just a software stack, but at least you know how to use that to do your own. You can use that to train your own modeling as well. The AI Studio is really, really smart. It uses the public model. It talks about take from GitHub as well, and then you just train everything on-prem. Yeah, I think it's a very good idea for even for myself. Whatever I wanted to do, I try to play in my own house first before I start to play in someone else's house. And then you make it into really good model, and then you put it on the public area just so you don't have to look after the infrastructure side, right? But at least you've done your part to cost saving for you to do what you need to do. Yeah, but have the right technology stacks. If you need anything, reach out. It's free. I'm here to help. I literally get my hand dirty to set it up if you need to, right? It's something I'm passionate about. A lot of technology consultant, they know how to talk about technology, but they do not know how to do it themselves. They know how to have a vision. For me, because I'm passionate about IT, I like to really think about the GPUs and really put it together, how to build the computer together and give it to yourself, and negotiate a deal. Like if you see the GPUs that you really, really like on eBay or whatever, I can talk on your behalf, just help you to get the deal for you. I got my own access to TD Next, scans, many different providers, company Ingram Micro as well. All these companies that can give you really good discounts on the technology stacks that you require. Yeah.
I am going to iterate this, guys. Darren really gets the culture of our community. He was born with it, right? He really just wants to help. Yeah.
No, I really want to help. Yeah, don't think about the cost, but really, really want to help, especially if to help you to become successful in what you're doing. It's so important. And I mean, I coming from an Asian culture, it's not just about putting myself. The community of people are so important, especially you're in the UK. It can be a very lonely place, and Uday has created a great community of people. And we're here to build your company to become successful. and reach out. Yeah, if you need antivirus stacks, and how you set up a company with few people working together with you, please make sure if you really think about dreaming big on that company, make sure you provide a laptop for all your stuff. Okay, you can buy a second-hand laptop, but it's under your company. The only thing I wanted to think to prevent is that they take your data and go away. It's not intentionally, but it will happen because everyone stores data on their own laptop, and it's you might have your customers' data. That may, if their laptop got hacked, that's it. You know, it's very important for you to make sure you compliance, and very seriously, if you want to win big businesses, those are the things that will ask you, how are you protecting our data if we give your data to you so that you can train it?
Yeah, and especially B2B, it's very like it's something you'll have to start thinking about when you start go beyond your design partners and you just start actually probably launching and making money. But no, that's any more questions, everyone? So just remember, Darren is part of the community. He's one of the heroes. You get to hang out with him again. If you really want to understand AI infrastructure, even on a deeper level, you have to come and check out one of his other sessions that he does when we do these amazing tours of Digital Realty. But he's, you know, he's been with us, as I said, since 2023, and I'm sure you get to see him in person because he does come for some of our events as well. But any questions, please reach out to him. If you can't get through to him or find him, please let us know via team@Oxbridge-AIx UK. And so, Darren, thank you so much. I love your energy. I haven't quite had the energy for 2026 yet, so I'm glad that you brought it. So this is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and my regards to the rest of the family. We need to, this is great. We're actually going to be doing something with Verbos soon as well, so I'll tell you more about it.
Amazing. Use their office, wherever it is, it's everything about technology. Sometimes you just have to ask how to do things. And even Early Bird, they got a very good office space. I set up their Wi-Fi system, so anyone wants to work there. Of course,
we definitely need your help for the Wi-Fi system in HQ because, like,
of course,
it's starting getting really slow in all the MVP weekends.
Of course, yeah.
This
Just
is
tell
what
me
Hanier was
where.
like. You need this right now.
Yeah, and don't think about the cost, right? The important thing is that people understand it. Just want to help you. You've been helping the community. I'm here to help the community as well. Even students, right? You guys come here, you've got a dream. Even you think about how can I stay after my study? I mean, I go through the sponsorship. And a lot of times the company that hire me thinks, oh, we are a small company, we can't sponsor you. Don't worry, I figure out how to get sponsor and I'll teach you exactly how you need to sponsor and end up they sponsoring me. Things are like that. Because you need to utilize whoever that and you think about how to buy the first property, buy the second property, things like that. Anything that you need to ask anyone to talk about experience, don't be shy to ask because it's not about always a cost. Of course, there's a consultancy cost out there for other people that you're going to go to approach. I'm here to help you guys. You are smart people, and I love that to see you successful.
Love it. I think Alistair's going to say something. Alistair, do you want to jump in?
Oh, sorry. Were you? I was just in the chat, just thanking you so much for this amazing presentation. It's so valuable for me, but I'm sure for everyone else as well. Thank you.
You're too kind. Thank you, Alistair. Yeah, anyone feel free to reach out. Hannah, thank you so much for having me and arranging and Uday as well. And, lovely to talk to all of you. And thank you so much for the opportunity. Dream big, chase your dream, set a goal and go for it. No matter what it is, like Uday always say, we got your back. And when you say we got your back, we really got to make it happen, right? Not just saying a word, but we are here to really help. Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone, please join me to thank Darren. We've never really asked, but I'm just going to do it. Like, if you can visualize, I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Cool. Amazing, Darren. Have a good one. And see you soon. We're having a community hangout on Sunday if you're in London. And I know you've got a little one, but
yeah. We'll try. Yeah, let me know, and I'm happy to be there. If I get a chance, I will come.
Cool. Awesome, Darren. Have a good one. Enjoy. Take care.
Take care, guys. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.